Well, here is a labor of love. This is an older, I don't know the age, it's probably early 1900s, 1905, 1910 is my guess, maybe 1920. It's a Maga Ercole. It's in the older key arrangement of G, C, and B. And it has stradella basses with the bass note, counterbass, the major chord and minor chord. It's a two-voice instrument, and I have done really extensive work on it. But it's in lovely condition for being that old. It had I replaced two of the treble buttons. I know I've got pictures of that. The originals were, one of them was actually black, and another one was, I think, white, but both were smaller than diameter than they should have been. So I was able to find donor buttons from some old honers and turned them on my lathe down to the right size and replaced them. There were numerous pallets that were misaligned on the treble side, so that they were sort of leaking, they're playing notes even if there was no button pressed. I've taken care of all those. I've got pictures of that, using my backlight to find out which ones were leaking, etc. And what else? I did have to glue some of the glue blocks inside had come loose, and so I glued them back in. It originally had the leather valves and a leather surround. Instead of being waxed in place, they were held in with pins and screws and everything. The pins and screws could not be salvaged. The holes were loose, and so I made the decision to go ahead and remove all the existing leather bedding for the reed plates and replace it with wax, the more modern wax. Then all the valves were, for the treble side, was revalved with the modern plastic valves. On the bass side, the modern composites. The bass reeds, the lowest bass reeds are sort of longer and narrower than normal. So we had to hand trim all of the valves, and there's quite a few on this. There's 12 all 12 keys are represented on the stradella bass. What else was done here? In order to tune the chord plates, I often will tune the reed plates outside of the instrument on a reed plate or fixtures, a reed block or fixtures. In this case, the trebles are glued right to the soundboard on the bass side, so I couldn't tune them externally in a removable reed block. So I actually made, and it was a strange, unusual arrangement where there were two, the sort of the mid bass and well, on the chords, the how do I say this? What's the word? The tonic and an octave above that, the same tonic, were shared the same cavity. I've got a picture of that. So the reed plates are mounted back to back above one cavity. And I found there was such a difference between tuning the reed individually on one of my fixtures to putting it back in the instrument and tuning it, that I actually made up a special simulated fixture, and I've got a picture of that, which has the double cavity, so I could then tune them outside of the box to get them close. Of course, the final tuning is always done with all the reeds in place in the instrument. Just the instrument half is removed from the bellows and and placed on my air table. I did have to make a new fixture because this is an odd size. It was not a size of any of the fixtures I've got. In fact, I'll show it on the ceiling there. I think it's the one closest sticking out there. So I've got a lot of fixtures that I've made over the years for different sizes, but this is a new one. What else? I did add anti-resonance crossbar along the bridging between the treble reed blocks, and there was quite a bit of keyboard work. I had to add this all apart to get the buttons working properly. And what else? The tuning, I tuned it to a tremolo of about 2 hertz on the lower notes to 7 hertz on the high notes. And the instrument came to me at A435, and so I've left it at that original reference frequency. But it's perfectly tuned with itself. So I can see this is nice sounding basses, though. But I can't play them. I don't really know how to play them. I could probably play a tune on the treble side. Let's see. Anyway, this is going back to its owner in the New York City area. Maga Ercole button accordion in G, C, and B.